Welcome, everyone. Good to see all of you. Exciting day here. I always look forward to this moment to get together with such a incredibly strong, powerful, good-looking group of people. And it's humbling when you think about it that you get up in front in an event like this, and you work hard to try to have something that's worthy of your time, and something that I can. That better? All right. Something that I can give to you that you can walk out of here in a way that will make a difference either in your day, your week, your month, cause you to think about something a little bit differently than how you looked at it in the past. And so for me, that is part of the fun. And so with that being said, I just want to get started here and say the first thing I'd like you to do is I put a survey in the middle of each table. And I'd love for you to all work on this. And then Leo will come around and pick them up. But this is to help us understand how we can be more relevant in our education, to see where you as an agent are in your thinking. And so hopefully you will humor me and take the moment to fill that out. I know that a lot of us independent agents rebel when somebody asks us to do something, so please do your best. Thank you. So, with that being said, I've got so many things here that I would love to run through, but again, there's so little time. And but I'm hoping that you will be thinking about something different than when you arrived here this morning, when you leave. I'm hoping that you will all be filled with hope. I'm hoping that you will have a larger sense of confidence than you walked in the room with. I'm hoping that you will have more knowledge than you arrived with. I'm hopeful that you will know where to go to obtain more knowledge. You'll have better resources. I hope that you don't feel limited in any way. And I surely hope that you are not a victim. And that ultimately you are a leader. And there are ways and places to go to become better leaders. And that may be a tall order to accomplish all of those things this morning in a short amount of time, but we're going to try. So with that being said, let me start out with this. You are each, as an independent contractor, a business. And every business needs a leader. And that leader is you. Accept the position and don't run from it. So, as I think about this concept of a leader, I don't know if any of you read a guy by the name of John Maxwell. Anybody know John Maxwell? He is somebody that he sends me an email every morning, personally. No, I'm just kidding. Along with about probably 100,000 people. But anyway, the one today was kind of on the leadership concept of bloom where you are planted. So here's what he says. Rare are the people who begin their careers as stars. And those who do sometimes find that their success is like that of some child actors. After a brief flash in the pan, they are never able to recapture the attention they got early on. Most successful people go through an apprenticeship or period of seasoning. Look at quarterback Joe Montana, who was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 2000. He spent his first 2 years on the bench as a backup before being named the San Francisco 49 starter. And as he was breaking records and leading his teams to Super Bowls, the person who sat on the bench as a backup to him was Steve Young, another great quarterback for those of you that follow football. And some talented team members are recognized early for their great potential and are groomed to succeed. Others of us labor in obscurity for years, learning, growing, and gaining experience. And then after a decade of hard work, you become an overnight success. Given the right encouragement, training, and opportunities, nearly anyone with desire has the potential to emerge as that impact player. So, I hope you'll take that, think about it, wear it, but the goal for each of you, in my humble opinion, is that each of you accept the position as leader of your business. So my next question is for each of you is, should you buy leads? Anybody raise their hands who's buying leads? Did you raise your hands if you're buying leads?
Yes.
There's a few of you. Okay. We just want to know who's in the room, right? So, should you consider an assistant or a team member? What do I want out of this effort? What are you guys seeking right now? Are you seeking early retirement? Are you seeking big income? Are you seeking wealth? What are the big battles in front of you right now? Who will control the leads? That, to me, is one of the big battles. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time on this throughout the day, or throughout the morning here. Should I be nervous if I don't buy leads? Should I be getting in the game right now? Am I missing out on something? Billions are being spent right now by Zillow and others. It's an amazing thing to watch, but Zillow is worth, per Wall Street right now, is worth $5 billion, I believe. Zillow has never sold a home, never listed a home, never went out and done a CMA, and yet they are worth $5 billion. They haven't made a dime. They're projected to lose money this year. They're going to bring in $1 billion, of which 750 million of that will come in from real estate agents buying leads. $750 million this year. And that's just Zillow, by the way. There's others who are out there as well that are offering leads. Matter of fact, Zillow right now is saying that they have, on average, 166 million unique visitors on a monthly basis. That's just one. And then you've got Trulia, you've got, what are some of the others that are out there? Realtor.com, Homes.com, Move Inc., and then you've got all the brokerages that are generating leads, right? So I'm thinking about this and I'm going, well, how many flippant unique visitors are showing up at these lead generating sites in a month? And it's like, I think it's about 300 million. And so as I started thinking about this, I'm going, well, how many homes are sold in a year? Do any of you know how many homes are sold in a year? It's 5.5 to 5.7 million homes. The biggest year we ever had was back in about '06 when we sold about 6.8 million homes in a single year. So remember now, that's a home, so it has two sides for us real estate agents, right? So you double that number. So if you've got 5.5 million homes sold, that means there was 11 million sides, right? So what are we doing monthly with 300 million unique visitors? Who are these people? What are they doing? Is this like, and then how many of you are chasing these 300 million people monthly? And then the question becomes, why would anyone do that? Well, the answer is simple. If you spend $5,000 a month and you make $20,000 a month, that's why real estate agents do it. Zillow has decided that they're going to appeal to the wealthier real estate agents. So if you'll notice, if you look on, do a search and see who shows up, the three faces that show up, it's typically very successful agents that are paying a lot of money. I know we have agents inside of 5-Star that do it, and we are, you know what, we're just going with the flow. Zillow's making an interesting change right now. Zillow has decided, they've started a new opportunity for brokers, and they've said, we would like you to become a premier broker, just like the premier agents. Sorry about this, Mike. It's going in and out. Is it not? Is it consistent? All right. So, as I look at this, I'm going, all right, well, that would put me in direct competition with my agents who are currently paying for leads. That doesn't seem like a good plan for a broker, but I asked Zillow, I said, why are you doing this? And they said, well, we've got a problem. They said, we've got all these agents buying these leads, and not 50% of the leads gets returned by the agent. I said, by the agent who's paying you money for the leads is not following up on the call? And they said, absolutely, the agents are not following up, and what we're learning is that if we work with brokers, the brokers will set up a team and they'll make them more accountable, and therefore we'll get a better return on our investment. Isn't that wild? So agents that are currently participating in Zillow, paying them thousands of dollars a month, are receiving the leads from Zillow and then are not following up. Now here's the problem for Zillow. Zillow's embarrassed by this because they told the public, if you give us your link or your name, we'll make sure that somebody calls you back, and then nobody's calling them back. So they're going, well, Zillow, you're a bunch of losers because nobody's returning our call. And so isn't that an interesting thing? So Zillow right now is out there trying to figure out what to do. Zillow's got another issue. I don't know if any of you heard this, but Amazon announced recently that they're going to get into real estate. Amazon is far bigger than Zillow. So years ago I was at a meeting and somebody asked Rich Barton, who's the founder of Zillow, what's your biggest worry? And he said, Amazon. And so here we are today, you know, about 5-6 years later, Amazon is now making noises that they are considering jumping in. So I guess the question to us as agents is, are we going to participate? And what I'd like to do here is I'm going to kind of bounce between this and the team concept, and but a couple other questions that I've got in this area before I move on is, what are we fighting over? Are we fighting over eyeballs, unique visitors, leads? What's the return? I think what they get is about 0.1% is the return on the leads. So a very small return when you look at it, but that means a lot of agents are spending a lot of time going down a lot of roads with nothing at the end of it. And I guess the question to me then would be, is that the most efficient use of your time? And that's going to be one of the things we're going to dive into here in the coming minutes. And so I want to make it clear, I'm not against this. I don't know if it comes across that way as I'm talking about it, but I'm really asking more questions than anything else about, do we all need to be at the doorstep of Zillow, or is there another way? So, the other thing that we need to worry about is what regulations are out there and are bubbling along. And, you know, it used to be that I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to politics. And I woke up here last December and I realized that the state of Michigan was passing a law that was going to limit the branding of all of you as real estate agents. And the state stepped in with the help of Michigan Realtors and LARA, the Licensing and Regulation Authority in the state of Michigan. And they passed a law, which I'm sure most of you are most of you aware of this law? But effective January 1st, on your signage and any branding, this would include websites, this would include Facebook, this would include any social media, this would include pens, shirts, hats, regular advertisements, any branding that you're involved in. The state has passed a law that says your name can be no larger than the broker's name in regards to text size. Not font size, text size. And it's really an interesting thing. It's complicated, and there's going to be some things coming out from the state here in the coming, hopefully, weeks. They have tried to come up with a group to help define what they really passed. If you read the law, agents could make hay in a lot of different ways with what did they really mean. Then, by the way, this was supposed to clarify things. So anyway, there will be fines, and there will be suspensions, and there will be enforcement by the state. Not that this won't be the local associations trying to enforce this. This will actually be the state of Michigan. I'm trying to figure out how it's going to work. And I think what's going to happen is that your competitors that maybe don't like you or me will see something, and they will take a screenshot of it and they will send it to Lara. And then Lara will send you a letter saying, it appears that you are out of compliance. Please show us how you change this within the next 30 days. And if you don't, well, then you could receive a fine or a suspension. The fines can be up to $10,000. So it's a pretty steep deal. So what does that mean? So each of you right now, if you think about it, when we started 5-Star 20 years ago, one of the things that we did was we minimized our name on the signage so that the agent's name could be the central figure on the sign, because we believed in the agent. We believed in agent centricity, and we wanted the calls to go to you, and we wanted you to receive the opportunity to sell more real estate. We didn't want it coming into a floor call line. And so the question is, well, why? Why did this happen? So I've had an interesting 8 months as I've tried to battle with the state of Michigan here. And as of this point, I still haven't got any victories. But I was on a presidential advisory group here about a month or so ago where I was able to ask them directly. I said, is the state of Michigan, the real estate group, Michigan Realtors that we all pay, are you going to advocate for me as a real estate agent to find ways to be lenient in this law? Or are you going to spend most of your time trying to prosecute me and define it into minutia? And they said, no, Greg, we want to find ways to be lenient, and we want to support the agent community. Whether you believe that or not, I don't know. We'll see. But it's coming up, and it's only about, a little over 3 months away. And what some of you will need to do is to look at your materials, your signage, and you may have to go out and work. You could work with our staff on this to, if your name is larger than our logo, and the only place our name is the logo, right? That the wording is the logo, the way we designed it. And so now we have the state of Michigan telling us how we can design our signs, right? They're my new design partner. And so anyway, we will be looking for ways to help you and assist, but you all may have to go out and may have to change your websites. You may have to change some of your marketing you're doing on social media to make sure that the broker's name. And then all of you know that the state requires one of two things to be on all your marketing: either your branch office number or your branch address. So one of those two things has to be on all of your marketing. You can never just have your name out there with just the name 5-Star. It's got to be 3 items: the broker's name, and then your name, and then you got to have the company name, and then you've got to have either the broker's address or the broker's phone number. And if you are a branch office yourself, then your branch office number would qualify because that is the branch number. So without getting too complicated, if you have any questions, you can call the staff and they will try to help you in that area. Another area that's happening right now that you need to be aware of is teams. It's interesting, but right now, there is no law that acknowledges that teams in real estate exist. Matter of fact, teams do not exist per the state of Michigan law. So there's been nothing defined here. And yet we've been operating this way for years. And Five Star, as a matter of fact, we led the charge in this when we began this in '95. One of the reasons we left RE/MAX to start Five Star was that we wanted to, each of us had teams at that time. And so we wanted to be unshackled from the rules. At that time it was RE/MAX for me. And so we have tried to lead the way in this area, and we are going to continue. I'm probably going to be working with some attorneys, some industry people, to try to develop some rules so that we all know what we're abiding by. And of course you would know from me that I'm going to try to find a way to be lenient as much as possible with teams. But here's the biggest deal. I was reading an industry newsletter and they were talking about this subject, and the article starts off and it says, "A confusing time," and it ends up, and the next headline is, "No leader in our business can afford not to stay abreast of what is going on in the world around them." Now, we just agreed a few minutes ago, did we not, that you're all leaders? Nod your heads. Right, you're all leaders. Now that means that you all have to stay abreast of what is going on in the world around you. You can't just leave it up to somebody else to inform you. You all need to be engaged. And so, just to show you a couple of changes in the area of teams throughout the United States. There were 4,770 teams on this year's America's Best Real Estate Agent Teams, compared to approximately 1,700 who qualified 3 years ago. So huge increase from 1,700 to 4,700 teams who qualified on the Real Trends America's Best. And then it goes on and it says, one of the things that the industry, the real estate industry, brokers in general from other companies, do not like teams. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was talking with the board president of GRAR a year ago, and I'm not going to mention the company he's at. Some of you might be able to guess by the time I finish. But I said, "Do you allow teams at the company that you work for and manage at?" "No, we are working on that right now. We're trying to create a policy." And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? 2017, and you just now are thinking about how do we work with teams? Well, this is where our industry is, folks. They are way behind the curve here. So some things that are happening, what they will do to diminish this concept, they will try to beat up on, well, teams really aren't that successful. And so to debunk that, it says right here that the top 100 teams in the US average 28 people on their team. So that's like a company inside of a company, right, John? And so these teams averaged 130.8 million in closed volume. That's, if you were to look in Grand Rapids, 130 million, probably that would put you at number 5 or 6 in the industry ahead of all the other brokerages. They closed 413 sides on average, and the per person productivity was 4.6 million and 14.75 sides per team member, which is well above the national average, which has been bouncing between 8 and 11 depending on the year. At the same time that teams appear to be on their way to becoming a major industry structural wave, technology and technologists are hammering away at the industry. Amazon, Zillow is shifting, a bit of its resources from their premier agent programs into their premier broker. Redfin went public and with 2 days was worth more than RE/MAX International. How many of you know or have heard of Redfin? Oh, that's a pretty good chunk. Redfin is, one of their big deals is they want to do listings for 1%. Their choice, right? Anybody can choose whatever they want to do. And there's another company called Nextdoor, growing neighborhood and community platforms, rolls out a new real estate section on their sites in certain states. There are a growing number of lead generation platforms that are already generating tens of thousands of leads a month for firms that are scarcely known by the brokerage community. And so there are so many things shifting right now in our industry. And you know what? We all know that one of the ways to be successful is not to get distracted and to keep our heads down. But on the other hand, no leader in our business can afford not to stay abreast of what is going on in the world around them. And you are all leaders. So I'm going to keep coming back to that I believe that you kind of have to keep that one eye just looking a little bit as to what's going on around you. Which one of you wasn't aware of 10 to 15 years ago that online shopping was taking off? We're all aware of it, right? It's visible, we can see it, but what is our industry doing other than the outsiders who seem to get it? And so this is a concern. And so as I look at this, one of the things I read here, it says, Amazon didn't by itself cause the demise of Sears, Kmart, JCPenney, Macy's, Borders, Circuit City, etc. These organizations helped Amazon by sticking with a business and a customer platform that clearly wasn't going to keep providing growth. Lowe's and Home Depot had as much to do with Sears' demise as anything Amazon did. So we've got to stay current of what is going on here, and all of you can learn about these things. There are so many resources, and so what I'm going to do after this meeting is over, I'm going to have my staff, along with a lot of the stats that I've been spewing out here, will be available, and I'm not sure where it's going to be available yet, but they'll get something out to you to let you know where it is. And but we want you to have these numbers and want you to be thinking about what is it that you're going to do in the coming days, months ahead to grow your business and stay relevant. So, so one of the other things that I was just mentioning here a little bit ago was about the regulatory issues. The independent contractor status, I want to come back to that for a minute. This is being challenged. There's been a couple of lawsuits, and one of the lawsuits was with Uber. And what happened, and this is for those of you that have teams or are thinking about having a team, and it goes back to this idea that there are not too many laws that acknowledge the fact that teams exist. In combination with our industry is not getting ahead of this, combined with the fact that lots of your peers don't like it. They think it's wrong, they think it's unfair. That same person who was president of the board didn't like it that the team leader got their name and got credit for the sale when they never saw that person do any of the work. And I said, well, what if that person paid for all the leads that that agent was getting, being able to work on? Didn't they create that? I said, what do you care whose name gets put on for the number of transactions sold? But this is the level that our board leadership is playing around with right now. They're worried about something like that, when yet there's no law that talks about what a team is. And how are you going to be protected if the regulators come after us? And so I'm going to be paying attention to that in the coming year. And I'm going to be traveling to, matter of fact, I'm leaving tomorrow for Austin, Texas to meet a group of 25 brokers, and I'll be in Chicago with another group of brokers. I'm going to be speaking at the NAR convention about profitability. So I've got a number of things that I'm going to be involved in here as I try to bring back this information to you with what's going on here. But the independent contractor law is interesting. Uber is being sued, or has been sued, because these were independent contractors, just like all of you. But the Uber people, when they were quit or fired, they filed suit saying, no, I was really treated like an employee. I wasn't really treated as an independent contractor. And you think about that and you go, how does that impact us, right? Well, it impacts every one of you, because the people on your team are, in some cases, being treated as independent contractors, and in other cases are being treated as employees. Sometimes you're treating an independent contractor as an employee and vice versa, which creates the confusion. And so here's kind of a basic concept to look at. If you as the team leader require these people to show up to a meeting weekly, if you require them to do certain activities, if you require them to work for certain hours, that is an employee. Which means then that you're supposed to be doing withholding, paying FICA, workman's comp, and all the other things. And so at some point, the worry is that these people could come back and sue you, claiming that even though we had an agreement that said that I was an independent contractor, in reality, I was being treated as an employee, and therefore I deserve compensation. I deserve unemployment. I deserve workman's comp. All those things that an employer would have been paying. So I'm telling you, this is heating up. There's no law about it right now, but I'm going to encourage each of you right now to evaluate where you are and look at each of the people. The simplest way to do this would be if you have an assistant who's not an agent, who really isn't out there in the field, they're an employee. Treat them like an employee. If you've got buyer's agents, just give them leads, and that act of giving a lead, and then they're able to go out and work on it as they wish, well, that's an independent contractor, right? But anything more than that triggers it into the employment status. Just checking my time. I've got about 12 more minutes here. Is that right, Leo?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is another area of who's your competition? And you have fewer competitors than you think if you consider the facts. Amazing, of the 1.3 million realtors that are members of NAR, by the way, there's 2.5 million realtors, did you know that? 1.2 of them are non-members. They don't belong to, they would be people like, say, that are in our referral company, which is a non-board member. I think we have 50 or so people in that company. They can't really sell in our setup, but there are non-member realtors who can sell. They just can't put things on the MLS. And so out of the 1.3 million realtors in NAR, 45% did not have a single sale last year. You hear that? That's like, what, 500 and some thousand did not have a home sold. So the question would be, what are they doing? Why are they in real estate? So really, there's only about 700,000 realtors that have sold a home in the last 12 months. Here's an interesting one. Only 25% of sellers and 12% of buyers use the same realtor on their next transaction, a sign of poor service follow-up and client retention. An amazing 74% of buyers and sellers report they never heard from their real estate professional again after the closing. Almost 75%. 3 out of 4 never heard from their agent. I'm assuming that's none of you. 20% heard from them occasionally, and only 6% heard from them consistently. Do you see the opportunity right there? There's a huge opportunity with those stats if you think about it. The statistics indicate that most real estate agents are transactional driven versus relationship driven. But I guarantee you, if I did a survey right now in this room and I said, are you about relationships? Is that how you function in real estate? Or are you transactional? 90% of you would raise your hand and say you're relationship driven. But the stats won't prove it. The stats will not prove what most realtors would tell me. That means that basically we're all giving lip service to relationships, but we operate our businesses as a series of one-night stands. I mean, really. So, evidently, we prefer to chase leads rather than stay in touch with our customers who could send us referrals. They also point out that, what was the number? 60% of all people that worked with a realtor last year listed or bought through somebody they knew or were referred to. So 60% of the business at least prefers to work with. And a lot of those people that preferred it previously no longer do after they've worked with somebody and not heard from anybody. So if you think, just start to think about these stats. I don't know how accurate they are. I mean, I know they take a percentage of the population when they ask these questions, but I think there's probably truth in it. And so as I look at this, I'm going, if everybody had a great follow-up system after every transaction, and I know that, I remember now, I've been in real estate for 40 years, and so, it used to be that if you dropped off a poinsettia at Christmas time, or if you did one other thing during the year, that was pretty much enough to keep your people to go, oh, I love you. I'm going to use you again. I'm going to refer people to you. Today, doing a great job in selling the house is not enough. It's just not enough. They will leave you. So you have to stay in touch, and the question is, well, how much? I'm going to guess probably monthly. Newsletter, something, phone call, hi, anything. I think will make a difference. And by the way, if you did that, would there be a need for as many agents paying for online leads? By the way, what do you think is more costly? Paying for an online lead or making a phone call and a postcard to keep a relationship in place? I think it's simple. I think Zillow right now is close to $100 a lead, right? More, depending on the area. So what I'm doing right now is I want to make the case to all of you that the opportunity is there for every one of you, because every one of you has relationships. The question is, what will you do to encourage those relationships? Or do you just think they're going to call you? Because I'm going to tell you, if they don't hear from you, we know they're going to be online. We know from the numbers, if there's 300 million people online engaging with a real estate online lead portal, that they're lonely, at best. Right? I mean, okay, I'm starting to watch Property Brothers on a regular basis. So anyway, those are a couple of concerns. But then I also wanted to get into some market things here that, 5 minutes? Okay. One of the things that I've seen, and I want to be careful how I say this, because I surely don't want to offend offend any of you, but yet I want this is really, I have to encourage each of you. Well, be with you in a sec. All right, well, Don's doing that. I'm going to keep rolling here for a couple minutes. So, what we're going to do is briefly add this.
You hear that?
All right, we'll try this. Where I wanted to go was talk about this concept of leadership and then being a victim. And I want to be careful how I use that word because I don't want to have it connect politically in any way. I just want to talk about it from a business standpoint. And so as I think about this word, I go, what does that mean in our business? Well, if somebody calls Don and says, hey, I got this problem going on right now and I don't know what happened, but you know, I emailed them and they just never called me back. Or I found them and they didn't call me back. And if you say that if you get into a problem and you call Don and you tell him that, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be, if you've ever called Don and said that, because it doesn't make any sense to us that, okay, so you phoned him once or you left a voicemail and you didn't follow up on it. I mean, who does that? But yet we hear about it all the time in our industry, that people don't take responsibility to follow up. We have people say to us, well, I texted it, I texted the response, or they texted it to me saying they accepted the deal, and it's like, and you believe that? And so what I'm asking of all of you as I finish up here is that be a leader. Leadership and victim status does not go together in the same sentence. You can't play both sides. You can't be a leader and you can't be a victim. And so we hear this come across in so many different ways in so many venues, and so I just want to encourage you that before you call us and you say you got a problem and you don't know what happened, ask yourself a couple of questions. Could I have made a couple more calls? Should I have done something different? Should I have stopped by their house? Should I have not accepted and told my people that it was sold when we only had a verbal? How many different ways we get ourselves in trouble by not making sure that everything is done properly, formally, and that you have done everything in your power, where you can put your head down your pillow at night and go, I know I did my best. And so I want to encourage you to be client-centric. I want to encourage you to work on building those relationships with your clients, following up. By the way, the two biggest things your clients complain about, they never heard from you, they don't hear back from you, and you don't return their calls. If you just did these two things, you're going to get more referrals. If they have, by the way, if a client has to call you first, I've always considered that I lost. In my own world, I always figured if the client called me first, if I didn't anticipate what they needed or where they were going, I failed. So I want to encourage all of you to anticipate what the client's needs are, get in front of it, make the call, make the email, don't accept anything verbally, don't let any other agent put you in a compromised position with your clientele. Do not let, I don't care if it's the most successful agent in the city, don't let them put you in a compromising position. If it's not in writing, it doesn't mean squat, period. So, I think that is the end of what I had here. But again, I want you to think about leadership. I want you to think about the fact that you are a leader. It is a business. You're running a business. It needs a leader, and you are the leader. So thank you very much for giving me a few moments with all of you today. And at this point, I'm going to invite RPR to come on up. And the gentleman who's going to be presenting here is Tom Holubowski. And these guys are out of Chicago, I believe. And I'm excited to have them here. This is something that I believe is probably one of the best kept secrets in our industry. Some of you may be using RPR at this time, but I've asked a number of you who had no idea what RPR is. And so I'm excited for you to hear about this. I believe it's probably one of the best benefits that NAR provides to you, and it's included in your fee structure. So with that being said, warm welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Let's try one more time. Good morning, everyone. All right, that's better. As Greg said, my name is Tom Holubowski. With me is my colleague right behind me, Andrew Boyd. We are part of the broker services team at Realtors Property Resource, or RPR. And we want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of your meeting today. A few words about myself. I was born and raised in the Chicago area. I still live there with my wife and 2 daughters in a western suburb called Naperville, Illinois. And for the first time in my life, I can proudly say that I am a die-hard Chicago Cubs fan. What a year we had last year. So in a minute, Andrew will actually come back on stage and I'll pass the microphone to him, but we're really excited to be part of your agenda today. We have a lot of information that we're going to share with you today. So the objective is real simple. If you can walk out of here with 1 or 2 ideas that you can take back to your business, I think that will be a success, okay? So with that, because of all the information we want to share with you, we're going to go ahead and jump right in, and let's go ahead and get started. Here's the agenda that we've set up for today. First, we'll talk about RPR from an overview perspective, give you a little more information about us and what we have to offer. Next, we'll talk about RPR from an agent's perspective. How would you use this thing, and what's some of the value you might get out of it as well? And then finally, we're going to share with you some examples of some reports, some things that you can actually touch, that you can generate and send to your buyers and sellers. And then last, from a questions perspective, since we do have so much content we're going to try to get through in a short period of time, we're going to ask you to hold your questions to the very end. I promise we'll set aside some time for some questions, but let us try to get through this as quick as we can. So with that, let's get started. So let's begin by answering the question in real simple terms, what is RPR? And in simple terms, RPR is a national property database of information. It's comprised of about 300 different sources for over 166 million parcels of property across the country. It was designed for the exclusive use of NAR Realtor members, and it's delivered through a pretty sophisticated application. But here's the key. It's easy to use, and you can access it by going to that website, narrpr.com. There is no cost to use RPR. Now let me repeat that, because I know that question may come up at the very end, because it always does. All right? There is no cost to use RPR. Everything that we provide to you is provided to you as a member benefit of your association with NAR. And finally, consumers do not get access to any of this information. This is only available for NAR Realtor members. Who owns RPR? We're not a publicly traded organization. We're not partnered or joint venture with anybody. RPR is a wholly owned subsidiary of the National Association of Realtors. In other words, we're owned by all of NAR's members. In essence, we're really owned by all of you. Think of us as the technology and analytics division of NAR. Question we often get is, well, Tom, how much information have you guys collected? And the simple answer is a ton. But the better answer is found in some of these icons right here. For example, we have over 800 million photos inside our database. Information on 130 million tax records, 17 million default records, etc. So suffice it to say, there is a wealth of real estate information available to you at RPR. I want to take a minute and talk just a little bit about the differences between these two valuation analytics. Both of these are used to actually estimate home values. One's called an AVM, the other one's called an RVM. So AVM stands for Automated Valuation Model. And if I were to ask everybody in the room, what's the most common consumer-facing AVM in the marketplace today, I'll give you a hint, it begins with the letter Z, what would you say? It's Zillow, and there's estimate. Now, we're not here to talk about merits of the accuracy of this estimate. That's a whole other discussion, okay? But what do we know about AVMs? What we know about them is that they're calculated using public record data only. What do we know about public record data? Number one, it could be incomplete. Secondly, it could be outdated. Some counties or assessors out there update their public record data every month. Some do it only twice a year. Here's the key, the best AVMs in the marketplace today are coming within plus or minus 10% of the home's actual sales price, about 63% of the time. That obviously is not really accurate. The RVM, on the other hand, is something we created at RPR. It takes public record data, combines it with MLS data to create a better analytic. Now, why is it better? Well, what do we know about MLS data? Certainly, it's more consistent than public record data, right? And obviously, it's more up to date. Research tells us that our RVM is coming within plus or minus 10% of the home's actual sales price, about 90% of the time. So the difference between the two, obviously, is accuracy. So why do we share this with you? We share this with you because when you go into RPR and you run a search and you find a property, you're going to see most likely an RVM estimate assigned to that property. Sometimes you're going to see an AVM estimate. Now, why is that the case? When our algorithm doesn't feel it has really good comps, maybe waterfront property, large acreage, etc., it's going to refrain from calculating an RVM and will assign an AVM value to that. But here's the point we want you to walk away with. Remember, these are just numbers. They're numbers calculated by a computer algorithm. There's no human element that has gone into that calculation. Our product becomes most robust when you take these 300 sources that feed our database and you license in and integrate MLS data from MLSs all around the country. Of the roughly 700 plus MLSs that are out there today, we have 663 of them that are licensing their MLS data to us. The good news is that all of the MLSs that your company belongs to is licensing its MLS data to us. So because of that, all of you will have access to all of our features, all of our tools, all of our data sets. What you see right here is just a sample of some of the data you'll have access to. For example, you'll have access to public record data on all 166 million parcels of property across the country. You'll have access to tax data, mortgage information, neighborhood reports, school reports, FEMA flood maps, investor tools, CMAs, heat maps, and on and on and on. So suffice it to say, you'll have access to a lot of real estate related information inside our database. But you can't get to any of it unless you have an account. And this is what you need to do if you don't have an account yet. You simply go to this website, NARRPR.com, two pieces of information you need. Number one, you need your NERDS ID, which is your NAR member ID. If you don't know it, no problem. Give our hotline a call. We'll look it up for you. And secondly, your MLS ID or IDs. So once you have that information, you go to the website, that's what you see. Right in the middle of the page where it says create an account, within a couple of minutes, you'll be in RPR. Okay? So that's about as deep as we wanted to get this morning in terms of just providing you an overview, kind of tops of the trees about RPR. What we want to spend more of our time on is talking about some of the ways agents are using RPR today across the country. And there's dozens and dozens of different ways agents are doing that. For time purposes, we just picked about 7 or 8 of them. We wanted to spend a little more time going into some specific details on each of these. So we'll start with our search tools. Searching for property information inside our database is really, really simple. First, you go to the website, NARRPR.com, go ahead and log in. And this is the landing page you see once you come in. And right there at the top of the page in that giant box is where you can search for information. Starting with the all property search. That allows you to search for public record data on all 166 million parcels of property across the country. The for sale button allows you to search for MLS data for the MLSs that you are a member of. For lease button, obviously, is for leasing information. Neighborhoods button allows you to run some cool neighborhood reports. We'll show you what those look like a little bit later on. School reports gives you access to all of our school data. And then finally, market activities akin to an MLS hot sheet. So by way of example, Let's just say that we were a realtor in Scottsdale, Arizona, working with some buyers, we come into RPR, we plug in Scottsdale, Arizona, and that zip code, and we hit enter. We see that there are over 18,000 parcels of property that are tied to that zip code in Scottsdale. If we want to see how many of those are for sale, we just hit the for sale button, and we see that there are currently 370 properties for sale. All right, pretty standard stuff. But here's something that's kind of cool. Let's say we amend our search criteria, and this time we only want to look for distressed properties in that zip code. We come back in RPR, we make that change, we run a search, we see that there are 43 properties returned in our results. Not only do we tell you which distressed properties are for sale, but we also tell you which properties are in a distressed state, but not yet on the market. Pretty cool. Of these 43, if I want to see how many of those were for sale, I just hit the for sale button, and there are 12. So do the math with me. 43 distressed properties, 12 on the market, 31 not yet on the market. But some agents have told us that they've actually run this kind of a search for their farm area. And they put together an e-card or a marketing flyer touting their skills working with distressed properties. And they sent it out to everybody in their farm with the hopes, in this case, that maybe one of those 31 families say, enough's enough. I'm tired of the banks calling, I'm tired of the phone calls. We need to do something about our distressed situation. Look, this person has some experience, let's give them a call. So it's a way that they've actually been able to find some opportunities searching some of our data inside RPR. Let's shift gears a little bit. This time we want to search on a specific property. Maybe we're getting ready to go on a listing presentation tonight to this property on Winchcombe Drive. We've been to the house many times. The homeowners walked us through, pointed out all the upgrades they made to the property. But we're curious. We want to see what kind of information RPR has collected on this property. So we come in, we plot the address in, and we hit search. What RPR does, it takes all the information that we've gathered for this property record, and it sorts it or segments it by those column headings at the very top of the page. We don't have time to go through every single one of them, but let me just go through a couple of them to give you an idea of some of the information we've collected. Starting with the summary tab. We see that there's, right underneath the summary tab, we see that it does have an RVM value of $573,000. It has a confidence factor of 5 stars. For whatever reason, it feels pretty decent, pretty good about that estimated value. As I scroll down, we have some historical photos that we've saved inside our database on this property. As I scroll down even further, we get all of the public record data that we loaded into that property record. Still going down further, we get the home energy consumption data, we get the legal description of the property, we get some tax information and some deed information as well. And that's just in the very first section. If I look at the history section, it gives me a historical picture of what this property has been through. For example, that chart you see at the very top of the page, it's a histogram. And so those solid red lines, if you can see the red lines in there, those lines indicate distressed actions and when they were filed against the property. That line, that dotted line, indicates the AVM or RVM value when it's done over time. The solid gold circle represents listing activity. When was the property listed in the past? So it gives us a little historical picture as to what's happened with this property. If I scroll down, I get prior sales transaction information. I get all my tax and mortgage data, and I can toggle back and forth to see how much taxes have gone up over the years. And then at the bottom, I get all of the distressed information, anything that's been filed against that property as well. So a lot of information that we're able to gather and put into each one of the property records here at RPR. So with that, I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to bring Andrew back up and ask him to kind of take us through the next series of features. Andrew?
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Everybody hear me okay? I'm just kind of sharing mics. Yeah, I need that more than you right now. Good deal. Everybody doing okay? All right. I'm not out of Chicago. I'm out of Texas. I live in Kingwood, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston. So you don't need to count. I just will accidentally normally say y'all a couple of times. But be prepared. It's going to happen. And we're going to take a look at some of the mapping tools that RPR has created for you. Okay? So here we are. We're looking at Scottsdale, Arizona. And we're looking at a map of the area we had searched. And in the map, you can see all the properties that are for sale. One of the things that's pretty cool is, you go down further, it's going to show you the list of the properties. But we also have This section, you heard Tom mention earlier, heat maps. What's a heat map? Heat map is a graphical representation of changing data. Let's take a look. What does it look like? We're looking at a 12-month change in valuation. Okay? From the drop-down, we switched it. We want to look at this. Why is that important? Well, you have two different colors there. The darker the red, the more negative, or the lower the property value has gone. What if you have investors who are looking for properties that have gone down in value? They want to make an investment, get a return. This is an easy click. Or if you have somebody who wants stability or appreciation, that's the blue. It goes in the other direction. Okay? That's one option. Another one, year built. When I used to practice in my area, suburbs, Houston, oil business, we have a lot of corporate transferees coming in and out. And for a long time, and I'm going to switch this, for a long time, they would be of the opinion that they needed to purchase a home that was less than 5 years of age, because they felt it would be easier for them to sell again, and they know they're going to be transferred next year or 18 months. Well, here you go. What is the age in this area in which we're searching? How old are these properties? And the different colors, I know it's kind of hard to see up on the screen here, but the different colors can indicate the ages of the properties. Flood zones. FEMA flood maps we have built into our system. FEMA updates them, we update the system. The darker the green, the lower the risk. What about different ways that you can search? You're in control. We tried to make this as simple as possible. You can draw a box. Say, all right, system, show me inside the box. Or a circle. Box, circle, or, now, you'll be like me, Andrew, I like to do shapes, polygons. What's really cool is this map. Agents love this map. What if you have a client who is, let's say, an obstetrician, has to get up in the middle of the night and go deliver babies? They tell you, I cannot be for 5 minutes from the hospital. You put in the address of the hospital, you put in the time, and the system will show you all the properties that are for sale within 5 minutes of the hospital. Or, I don't want to be more than 10 miles, 5 miles, 3 miles from my place of work. You put in the address, it's going to show you the circumference, and all the properties that are for sale. These are tools that are just simply available, that we're making available to you guys. Another one of the drop-downs is show me the schools. I want to know about the middle school and the high school, middle school and elementary school zones, and the homes that are for sale in there. Anything and everything that clients have asked you for, we tried to add into the system. What about valuing home improvements? Let's say you sold a house and your client's calling you back 5, 10 years later, and they want you to list it. They're selling. You're getting transferred for many different reasons. Have you ever walked into one of the homes that you have sold years before, and it looks the exact same way as it did when you sold it to the client, with maybe a little bit of wear and tear? No updates, no nothing. And you can have some challenges. I had a client ask me one time when I valued the home for them. So, well, what are you talking about? Where does my equity go? I said, you live your equity. Okay, you have to kind of maintain your investment. Well, we've got a pretty cool tool that can support you in helping the valuation of property. In addition to CMAs, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So we have our subject property again on Winscombe Drive in Scottsdale. We know what the refined value is. Now let's look at some improvements. Huge list of choices. Now, I know that y'all can't see it, but this says bathroom remodel, kitchen remodel, mid-range, upper range, lower range. Did they put on a new roof? Did they reside the property? Did they add a bathroom? Did they add a bedroom? Okay, so a whole list. Through a relationship with Henley Woods, the publishers of Remodeling Magazine, they provide us with an evaluation for each one of these different projects based on geography. Okay? So your client tells you, well, Andrew, we remodeled the kitchen. And then you take a little bit of extra data. They tell you when they remodeled the kitchen and how much they spent. And that's included. Major kitchen remodel in April of 2011, they spent $18,000 based on the data from Hamlin Woods. We then are able to see what is the adjustment in the value. We add this to the system, and here comes the number, $8,140 plus to the original RVM. There's some depreciation in the time from 2011 to the current date. Something, a specific hard number to help you when you're on a listing presentation. Well, so naturally, we're going to next move into the CMA. Now, is this CMA meant to replace what you have? That's your choice. This is simply another tool that is available to you that we're providing to you at no charge. So the comp analysis, back at the top of the screen, using the same property. We're going to confirm the home facts. We've made this as simple as possible. Simply follow the steps one at a time. So confirming the home facts. We can see on here that some of the boxes from the public data haven't been filled. Well, we know if we look at bedrooms, it says it's blank. We need to include the fact that the property has 5 bedrooms. Square footage, the tax assessor says the property has 2,700 change square feet, but the homeowner says it's 2,800. Let's be as accurate as we can. You can make the adjustments. So we make these additions, and then we confirm the home facts. Pretty simple, following the steps. Number 2, searching for comps. Okay? All the criteria is set for you. Single family residence, active, pending. We have the map with the graphical representation. And once we click search, the subject property is right in the middle. And then all, quote, comparable properties are displayed on the map and further down on the page. Now, as you're going through the list, since you're the market expert, you are going to choose which ones the computer has suggested. And you're going to include these in your CMA. So at the top, you see that, excuse me, got excited there. At the top, add to comp lists. You check it. On the right-hand side, it's added to the map. Okay? Next step, make adjustments. Not all homes are perfectly comparable. You need to adjust for some differences. Does one have a pool? Maybe the same floor plan, but the other one has a pool. Or maybe yours has a pool and that one doesn't. And so you're able to, with the slider bars under the properties that you have chosen, make slight adjustments to the value, which is going to impact the overall CMA. Okay? Next step, review the analysis. Let's go through it, make sure that we have it correct. Now, I jumped ahead a little bit there, but number 4, based on the adjustments that we have made, the original RVM has taken our input and increased it to $599,061. That's what the system's saying that is a good value to list this property. We also have on there a range from 566 to 640,000. Now, personally, when I go on listing presentations, I prefer to not have hard numbers on any of the paperwork. Do y'all go on listing presentations with your listing agreements and already have the list price filled in? I don't. I want to hear what they have to say. There might be something about the property that they didn't tell me in the first conversation that's going to impact the value. So with that, we recognize that that's the case. You have the ability to edit the number that the system has given you, or delete it completely and have it blank. That's your choice. You're in control. And then, after you've completed all of it, get the seller's report. And you simply click Create Report, and the entire report will be generated for you. Now, there is much more information about these reports available, but as Tom mentioned, we're hitting some high points. But that report can include a ton of information that you get to pick and choose what's going to be included. Not just about the data, but also about yourself, right? What else? School reports. We go back to the search screen. Tom's already talked about all properties for sale in neighborhood, and now we're going to talk about schools. We're going to put in there Naperville, Illinois. Who created where's Tom from? Naperville. Okay. So we're going to talk about Tom's area. And when we search Naperville, Illinois, you can see that 36 schools are returned. Okay. Elementary, middle, and high. You can choose, just show me the high schools, based on what your clients may need. But you also have the ability to create a report for your client. Schools can be very, very important to them. And you get to choose what's going to be included in that report. A summary, details, test scores, community input, comments that they have made. And when you request the report on the high school, this is what it looks like. Cover page is on the left, shows you the boundaries for that high school. Your picture's on the bottom. Everything's branded for you, that's what's important. Second page is going to give us the ranking through greatschools.net. We take their information and we populate it in these reports. Gives you the test scores, and then the community input. There are many parents out there that will talk about the schools, talk about the grades, talk about the teachers, and you can see what the parents and children have had to say, and in some cases, the children. But additionally, show me all the nearby schools. What feeds into this high school? That is also a page in the report. And then, more importantly, we really like this high school. Where are the homes? What are the homes that are for sale within the boundaries of this high school? So you see graphical representation, as well as a short version of the MLS data, or the public data for each one of the homes that are for sale that feed into that high school. And you can run these reports, as many reports as you like, for any of the schools. Would that be helpful at all? Okay, well, it's definitely available to you. Well, now Tom's going to come back up. He's going to take a little bit deeper into neighborhood reports. Okay?
All right, just a few more features we wanted to share. Thank you. I think we both like this, and we don't give it up. Anyway, neighborhood reports. So how would you use these in your everyday life? Well, if you're looking for a way to maybe freshen up or liven up some of your open houses, I think there's some content here that will help you out. Or, here's a cool way. What if you're working with some buyers who are coming into town in a few weeks and you can show them some properties? What if you had the ability on RPR, plug in their neighborhood they're living in today, run a report to get a feel for the type of neighborhood they're living in? Match it up to a couple of local neighborhoods in your area. Go back into RPR, run another neighborhood report, send it to them ahead of time and say, hey, are you coming into town in a couple of weeks? I found a couple of neighborhoods here I think you're really going to like. Take a look at this information we'll talk about when you come to town. So it's a way that you can actually deliver some value maybe before you even meet the client. So let's take a quick look at what our neighborhood reports look like. Once again, we're back to our homepage where you find all the information in RPR. And this time we're going to click on the neighborhoods button and we're going to punch in the name of a neighborhood called High Meadow in Naperville, Illinois. When I do that, we get all of the information that we've collected in this neighborhood, once again, sorted or segmented by those tabs at the very top of the page. The summary tab provides some basic summary information about the neighborhood. What's the median estimated home value? What property values done over the last month or the last 12 months, etc. And as I scroll down, just various types of summary-related information that we've collected around that neighborhood. The housing tab provides us with housing data. So we see information like what percent owned versus rent, what's the median age, what's the vacancy factor. And once again, as I scroll down, a lot of housing-related statistics about that neighborhood. The people tab is a tab I like the best. Tell me something about the people who live in that neighborhood. And so we get information like the population of the neighborhood. What's the median age? What percent are male versus female? What percent are high school grads, college grads, etc. And as I scroll down, population of children by age group. Population of adults by age group. How many households have kids? Household income brackets. What do people do for a living in the occupational categories? And check this out. At the bottom, even presidential voting patterns from the last presidential election. So a wealth of information we're able to gather about some of the people living in the area. The economy tab provides us some basic economic information, income per capita, median household income, unemployment rate, and then finally quality of life. How much average annual rainfall, snowfall, sunny days, average monthly temperatures, and even for those millennials, walkability scores as well. From here, after review all the information, you can then say, yes, go ahead, I want to create a report. You simply do that by clicking the button. That's how simple it is to run a neighborhood report inside RPR. All right, next, our RPR mobile app. Can I see a show of hands how many people have downloaded the RPR mobile app? Okay, probably about almost half. That's good. If you haven't downloaded it yet, you're missing something. You're missing something really cool. Risk Media just came out and just nominated one of the top 10 apps in all of real estate. I mean, this thing is really, really neat. So let's take a few minutes just to show you what our mobile app looks like. There's a version for Apple, there's a version for Android. Just go to Google Play or the App Store, type in RPR Mobile, download the app, it's free of charge. Here's some of the features of the app. The one that I like the best is the last one on that list, the accelerometer. It uses your phone's GPS to draw a half-a-mile radius around you. It provides you with real estate-related information no matter where you're standing. We'll show you what that looks like in just a little bit. Here's what the app looks like if you go ahead and download it on your phone. If I click on it, I then get into the app, and I'm going to scroll through to kind of show you how the app works. So this is showing that we're standing in Lafayette, Colorado. It draws a half-a-mile radius around me, and it tells me there are 12 properties for sale, 3 new listings, 15 recently sold, and 4 distressed properties. If I click on the for sale button, it now takes me into that record, and I can see all of the properties within a half-a-mile radius of where I am. If I use my fingers and I pinch in, I can almost get down to the street level. And if I want to take a look at this property, for example, the one that's for sale, I just click on it, and up comes all the information now we've collected on this property, available to you right at your fingertips. I'm going to scroll down through this to, again, give you a flavor for some of the information we've collected. So we start with the photos at the very top of the page, give you the 4-up version. If you want to see the 1-up version, you click on that button. If you lay the phone on the side, the photos enlarge. Back to our app, I'm going to go ahead and start to scroll down. We'll see an asking price of $420,000 with an RVM of 418, so pretty close in that estimate. Here we get the listing details. If you want to call us, set an appointment with the agent, click on that icon right there. We get the description of the property, the location and the details of the property. If you need turn-by-turn directions, you're 3 blocks away, click on that icon right there. Here are the homeowner facts. Here are the home facts about the property. All of the MLS data right here, and all of the public record data as well. So you can toggle back and forth between the two. Bless you. Here's the HOA information. What have home values done over time? Any price changes that have been made to the property? Prior sales transaction data, that's of interest to you. Here's all that school data Andrew just talked about through greatschools.net. Here we get some of the interior features of the property, some of the exterior features of the property, all of the mortgage information, and finally at the end, all of the tax data as well. So fairly similar to the desktop application that you can access right from your laptop as well. From here, there's 2 things that you can do. Number 1, you can actually add your own notes into this record. You can add a voice memo, you can take your own photos, and those get added to the MLS photos as well.
And it looks really good. What Tom's looking at.
No.
It's been the best. slides, weren't they?
Folks, I'm sorry. I did not know that we kind of ran out of power or juice or something, but in any event, I know we're limited on time. I would just highly encourage you, if you haven't downloaded the app, take a few minutes, download it, play with it. It really, really is cool. Because from here, what you're able to do is create reports that you can send to your buyers and sellers. Here's what one of those reports looks like. I can actually email them right from my phone, or I can download them right to my device, as you can see right here. And if I use this, and if I just scroll down through a couple of pages, you see the picture of the home, again, personalized by the agent. We get a map of the home as well as the asking price. We get all the MLS data, all the public record data. Page 4 shows us the home facts, the room sizes, the features, so on and so forth. Okay? So, quick example of what our RPR mobile app looks like. And then finally, you know, what good is all this information that we have, all this data that we have, unless you can take it and use it to create something of value that you can then deliver to your buyers and sellers. And so we give you the ability to do that through a myriad of reports that you can run inside RPR. There are 8 different reports that you can pick and choose from. All of them are customizable. In other words, you can pick and choose the content that you want to put into those reports. You don't have to take everything that we deliver. Secondly, a new feature that we just added about 60 days ago allows you as an agent to include any PDFs you want into those reports. Now, what does that mean? It means that if you have some marketing materials you'd like to use on your own, maybe it's your biography, maybe it's why use me, maybe it's my accomplishments and my awards, you've got some nice marketing materials, you can actually load those into RPR, and when you go to produce a report, those will get printed along with the report from RPR as well. It's a pretty cool feature. All the reports can be downloaded, they can be printed, they can be sent via email. All of them are personalized. They come with your contact information, your name, and your photo. And they do stay stored in our system for 30 days. If you need a report beyond 30 days, make sure you go ahead and download a copy of it to your hard drive. Last year, to give you an idea how popular these reports were, over 3 million reports were running in our system by realtors all across the country. Here's what essentially how you would go ahead and run a report. If you click on the Reports tab, it then gives you the list of reports that are available. From here, we'll click on our neighborhood report, and then now here's where you pick and choose the content. If you're looking for some information on an open house and you just want to have a page or 2 on the people stats, just run that part. Or if you're putting a report together for someone coming in from out of town, you want all 4 of those sections, go ahead and include the content. Okay? All of it comes personalized and branded by you. In fact, we wanted to share really just a quick example as we start to wrap things up of what one of these reports looks like. There we go. So this is a report. We took one of your homes in Grand Rapids here. Very, very nice home, by the way. And again, this is the kind of the cover page, the first page. As I go down through the report, here's page 2. It shows us the asking price for our client, all of the home facts associated with this property. The extended home facts, we get another map at the very top of the page. We get the interior features, the exterior features, the room sizes, etc. Home energy consumption data, which is something that we added about 60 days ago as well. All of the MLS photos. These photos really, really look nice. They're high resolution photos and they print very, very well. So a couple of pages of the MLS photos. And then from here we get the property history of the property. Deed information. Here's that histogram that we showed you a little bit earlier. Here's some of the heat maps that Andrew walked you through as well. And then we get to some of the neighborhood information. Here's some of the housing stats, a number of different pages of housing stats that you can pick and choose from. Here's some of the economic stats. Here's some of the quality of life stats. And then finally, some of the school information Andrew shared as well. Here's an elementary school, here's a middle school, here's a high school. So you pick and choose how much of that content you want to put into your report. It's totally up to you. And then I think the last thing we wanted to share was just an example of a property flyer, the exact same property. Maybe you're working with clients, you're gonna show them a half a dozen properties, you wanna give them a snapshot, you can click something like this, or this is for your own listing. It literally took about 3 minutes to put together this property flyer. All you need to do is click on the button that says property flyer. You need to give it your own title. I just call it Stunning Ranch on Wooded Lot. And then you decide the information on the lower left-hand corner, how much of that you want to include. You can edit the description if you want. You can take it out and put your own description in. Again, you control exactly what you want to put into that flyer. Okay? And I think the last couple of slides we have as a wrap-up, and we're basically right on time, is we just wanted to share with you some other training opportunities, educational opportunities that's available at RPR. If you go to our blog, which is blog.narrpr.com, there you will click on the training button. There you will find a wealth of training opportunities. Webinars, classes, self-study, video, ebooks, a number of different things that take one of the features and really kind of zones in on just talking about that. Okay, so we want to make sure that we mention that to you. And then finally, this is something we're pretty proud of at our company. It's some of the largest real estate companies from around the country that are actively using RPR on an everyday basis. In fact, many of these organizations rank in the top 100, 200 across the country. They see a lot of value in what we bring to the table. We certainly hope you will as well. With that, there's 3 things we do want to leave you with. Number 1, remember, in order to get to RPR, that's the website that you need to go to, narrpr.com. Secondly, for additional training opportunities, please visit the blog, as I just mentioned. There's the address there. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, we have a customer service toll-free hotline that's open 24/7, 365 days a year. They do a really nice job for us. They're located in Omaha, Nebraska, and they're a terrific resource for us. So anytime you have any questions about RPR, pick up the phone, give them a call. Hey, I'm looking for this information, I can't find it. Hey, I'm here, I need to get back over there. What do I do? How do I run this report? It's printing this page, but I don't want it to print it. Pick up the phone, give them a call. They do a really nice job for us. In fact, one of the things we put on your table was this card, which will have a list of those 3 things and a couple of other resources that we wanted to get to your answers about. Plus, it will help you create an account if you open it up, kind of follow the steps and walk you through. So with that, I think we've got about 5 minutes for some questions. So if you have some questions, now would be a good time to go ahead and ask them.
And real quick, just to start off, how many of y'all downloaded the app? How many of y'all downloaded the app within the last 10 minutes? How many homes are for sale within a half mile? Okay. All right. Good deal. Any questions about some of the things we've talked about today? Yes, ma'am, in the back.
We have the app tab on our MLS. I've been in there before. When I downloaded the mobile app, it has a name and password. Would that be the same as my MLS? Are they linked, or I have to go create an account, separate account? Okay, thanks.
Well, no. I would. So when you just did it, how did it work?
It said there's a password related to your email, and so I just typed in one that I thought, and
It lets you reset it. Put your email in there, and it will tell you you've got one set up, and if you don't remember, just hit forgot it. It will send you a thing right to your phone.
Like one of your common emails, it's like they know everything.
Well, remember when you created your account with RPR, it all starts with the nerds. Okay. But one of the cool things about it is it'll remember who you are, so you don't have to do that each time. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to put in my password. And it's that one. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not that.
Scott's with us. That's okay. Yes, ma'am.
The information about the neighborhood, such as children's age and the voters or what have you, where do you guys pull that from?
Well, there's a number of different sources that we use at RPR. A lot of that is census tract data that we pull from the U.S. Census Bureau. That information gets updated once a year. All of our AVMs and RVM estimates, those get updated every 30 days. All of the mortgage data, tax data, that information gets updated every 30 days. MLS data gets updated multiple times throughout the day. So it really depends upon the source. So as soon as the source updates their information, whether it's greatschools.net or Hanley Wood, publisher of Home Miler magazine, whenever they update their information, we get that information literally on the very, very same day.
Yes, sir.
I used to use RPR all the time, like the last 5 months. It seems like every time I went on MLS and clicked one link, it says RPR right on every listing. He said, now the link's broken. So I thought you guys were gonna announce it coming back into business. You know?
Well, if there was, if you're asking about a link within the MLS that allows you to link into RPR, there's a feature that we offer to MLS is called deep linking that essentially allows them to put that link into the MLS. And when you're in the MLS, you can click on the link, take you right to RPR. For whatever reason, they must have decided to turn off that link, and therefore that feature is not available. So that's an MLS/association decision, not one of ours. We can easily turn that back on, but there are some MLSs that have incorporated that, others have not.
Yes, sir.
It also depends if you have it on your computer, market for sale, off, market, etc. So you probably can switch that up on top and try to bring it up.
And again, if you run into any issues when you're running a search, you're creating a report, call the hotline. They are there and they're employees of RPR. We haven't outsourced this. And they're there to answer your questions.
I can't emphasize that enough. If you run into those types of issues, call the toll-free hotline. They will reach out to the MLS. They will look into it, and then they will respond back to you with an answer.
I think we have time for one last question. Or just, yeah.
I have a three-phase question. One is there one report, like I went in and did all the reports for like one listing, and it was like 250 pages. I just wanted to see everything that would do. And I would normally, not do that for a normal listing. But is there one report or maybe two reports that are more popular, more useful? I mean, it's all useful information, but when you're with a client, is there like a go-to one that you've heard a lot of success? Is it the valuation? Is it the seller's report? And then this is a ton of information. I've spent some time in it. Do you have any advice about how to go about it? I mean, you can't just chunk all this in and learn it all. And my third little point is that when we broker load, here in our MLS, you have a box where you can check, I don't want to be a part of AVMs. Remember that? It's like on the last page. If you do that, that might turn off the link in RPR because it's not giving permission to do that. So, John, that was for you.
Okay, so I would say if there was one report that seems to be downloaded more than any other one, it's the mini property report. Because that one does give you an abbreviated version and it doesn't download 85 pages worth of data. So to answer your question, that would be my recommendation. Second piece was, how do we absorb all the stuff that you guys share with us today? The answer is, you can't. But if you take one or two things and you go back to your office or go back home and you go into RPR and you say, I just want to take a look at their school reports. Nothing else this week I'm going to even worry about. I think this could help some of my potential buyers. Go back, go in, play around with the school reports. If you have questions, call the hotline, run a report, print it off, email it to yourself, see what it looks like, see if you like it. If you have questions, call the hotline, etc. That's the way that you're going to start to get a better understanding of what this tool has to offer. Once you master that, then go pick another one. But the one-step approach is the best way to try and really understand what we have to offer. Folks, we have to run because we are on a time frame, unfortunately. We've got other presenters coming up. On behalf of Andrew, we want to thank you very much for your time and your attention today. Really appreciate it.
7:40. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Whoa. Okay, so they finished a few minutes early. How do you like our RPR presentation? Nice. Great. Okay, you are currently being handed some folders, packets from the title company, because your next speaker, Debbie Wiley, is going to share with you a little bit about title. But before we meet Debbie, you know what, you guys? Let's meet the newest staff members that have joined 5-Star that I really think are a dynamite addition to the team and are doing such a great job. So will you guys just wave a hand? Lauren Lieberger, she's Agent Solution and Agent Transition Specialist. Yay, Lauren. Shayna Waterbury, Branch Administrator for Standale. Laura Vanderveen, Operations Manager. And Dominic Crump, videographer, back there, and Cindy Wallace. Where's Cindy? Cindy has been promoted to the branch administrator team leader. So let's give a big round of applause. That keeps it all together. Okay, now you're going to have a chance to meet Debbie Wiley. She has worked in the title industry for all of her working career. She has been in the role of agency account manager for First American Titles Agency Division since 2009. Debbie has served on the Michigan Land Association's Board of Directors for 7 years and was the association's president for the 2016-2017 term. She has obtained the designation as a Michigan Certified Land Title Professional. That is a long title. And as a national title professional. So please bring up Debbie Wiley.
Thank you, Jackie, and thank you to 5-Star for inviting myself, and I also brought our new state agency manager, Wes Parkinson, with me. He's over in the corner. I'm sure all of you know Wes Parkinson. So be nice to him. He's my new boss. So, but thank you for asking us to come and talk to you for just about 15 minutes today. And our job is going to be to talk to you about what is title insurance, which I know most of you are aware of, but to answer some questions, especially about title commitments. What's on the title commitments? What's the type of stuff that you should be looking for to help service your clients? And what can you do to help the title work move more quickly through Star Title and any other places that the title needs to be completed? So I think everybody should have a packet by now of some documents. And we're going to basically go through these. And please ask questions as I go along. And it just kind of be an open forum. But I'm hoping to answer some of your questions that we have in this next 15 minutes. So the first flyer that we're going to talk about is the what is title insurance. And again, I'm sure most of you are so seasoned that you understand it. But there's a few things that a lot of people don't really understand about title insurance. And one of them is it's so unlike any other type of title insurance. First of all, there's only the one-time premium, right? Where they pay it at the closing, they either pay the premium for the owner's policy, or then there's another premium for the loan policy. The owner's policy obviously insures the new purchaser for what they are purchasing, the property they are purchasing. And the loan policy ensures that their new lender to cover anything that happens on that property that may affect that loan that they just took out on the property. That owner's policy follows with that the homeowners as long as they own that property. And sometimes there are some some covenants that are in an owner's policy that will cover them beyond when they sell it. But a loan policy only covers the life of that loan, which kind of makes sense as soon as that mortgage is discharged, that loan policy is no longer in effect. One of the things about title insurance is that there's definitely a search that is done, an extensive search that's done by any title company. So they have to search the public records, and they have to find out who the owner is, what mortgages are on the property, if there's any state or federal tax liens on the property. They also need to research what restrictions and easements are on the property. So one of the things we're going to be talking about today is where do you look for those things on that commitment that you receive to go over with your clients, and also what does that stuff mean that's on there. But also title insurance covers hidden items that come up, fraudulent items, or maybe there's a hidden error, or there's something that's unknown. There's things like there could be an encroachment on the property that you're helping your purchasers purchase, and they don't realize that that fence that's back there in the back actually encroaches on their property. And then they buy it later and they go to tear down that fence because they don't like it, and the neighbors are like, wait a minute, that's my fence. So we're going to talk about stuff like that a little bit, how to handle those, especially if they come up after your closing and your client comes back to you. The second flyer that we have here, this one is specifically made for realtors, so we thought this was a good one to help share with you. And that you know that when your client is buying a home, it's overwhelming. Most of them, this is the biggest transaction that they've ever taken on in their life. It's very important to them, obviously. There's a lot of fees associated with it that they don't understand. So one of the things you can also do is you can always go on to, even though you're not a member of the American Land Title Association, you can go on to the American Land Title Association, and there's a website on this second flyer that I handed out. And there's a lot of questions and answers that would really help you when you're working with your clients. Because the title insurance is one of those items that unless you buy a home, people don't understand it. They don't understand why it's anything different than health insurance or auto insurance or anything like that. So it's very specific. And of course, like I said before, the owner's title insurance policy protects the homeowner's property rights. For the same reason the bank requires the lender, it's to protect their rights in that property. So for example, if your client recently purchased a home from a builder and you thought everything was free and clear, and then 6 months later, one of the trades comes and files a lien on that property, in order for your client not to have to pay that, it could be covered by that title policy. So if they say, well, wait a minute, you didn't tell me that I didn't realize that there was still going to be a lien filed on this property, then if they come to you, then you come to your title insurance company, you come to Star Title or First American, if we're the underwriter on it, and it probably is covered for your client. And like I mentioned before, it shows on this flyer that owner's title insurance products help protect your homeowner financially as long as they own the property. So 50 years from now, they can still file a claim against their title policy.
But they better have it with them. They lose it.
Well, you know what? As long as they contact the title company, that they, and especially nowadays, that's a great question, because especially nowadays with all the technology, most title companies, they can call and say, we closed on this, here's the address of the property, and they can look it up for them. It's not as difficult as it used to be, which is good. And even a lot of the old stuff has been inputted into most systems that we can find it. The one main thing that I wanted to touch on that, what title insurance is, but the main thing I wanted to cover today is the basics of a title commitment. So the flyer that looks like this, because one of the things that we found is we want to make sure that as real estate agents, that you understand what's on there to help your clients understand what's on that title commitment. So Schedule A is the who, what, where, and how much It basically says what's the details of this transaction. And there's an effective date on that. At the top of that commitment, there's an effective date. That effective date is not the day, it's not today. It's rarely going to be today, if never. Because that's the date that the records are posted through in the county that that property lies in. So when any title company, Star Title, does research to figure out who's the owner, what mortgages are on that property, there's a posted effective date. And so that title work, that commitment, is through that effective date. If there's something that happened after that, or when you're talking to your client, they're like, well, you know what, we just took out an equity loan last week. Is that going to be affected? Well, it might not be on their title commitment because the effective date isn't through the recording of that equity loan. So anything that your clients tell you like that is extremely important to the title company that you're working with. Because depends on the county, depends on how far behind they are in posting. Now, all the different counties, their reporting dates have gotten a lot better too over the years, technology. There's a lot of e-reporting. Things can be done a lot quicker than they used to be. It used to be that there would be as much as a 6 months lag. And so that caused a lot more claims and that type of thing. But nowadays it's a lot closer. But that's that date. One of the things is if you've gotten a title commitment, and say the sale fell through, and then there was another buyer on that property 6 months later, the title company needs to update that title work. Because we want to get it, we all want to get it as close to the date of closing as possible in case there's any unknown liens out there. But again, it's really important when you're talking to your clients to ask them the questions. Have you guys taken out a new mortgage? Have you put on a deck in the last 6 months? You're the seller. Have you, anything like that that could raise a red flag to say, wait a minute, there could be a contractor out there that hasn't been paid. And we need to know about it so we can get it taken care of and it doesn't come up as a problem in the future for you or for the title company. So on Schedule A, it's going to show who the seller is. And so that's one of the things you're going to want to look at. Is that the person you're working with? Maybe you're meeting with Rosie Davis, but the title work shows that a Tom Davis and a Rosanna Davis, husband and wife, are the ones that are entitled. So the question is, if you've always worked with Rosie, she could be Roseanne, but what happened to Tom? So it's important to know that he's in a rest home, or he passed away, or they got a divorce. So the title company needs to know, because that didn't show a record, or they would have shown, if he would have passed away, they would have shown her as survivor of him. So they need to know what happened to the other person in title. And another thing that kind of to set in right now, we're seeing a lot of, unfortunately, in our industry is elder abuse. So we'll see where a grandson or a son or somebody is forcing an elderly person to sell their property and they don't really want to. So that raises a lot of red flags when you're meeting with your clients as well. And then Schedule A will also show the legal description of the property, and it'll show, if it's known at the time, who the purchasers are. And if there's going to be a mortgage taken out, it'll show the lender that's going to be insured. It'll also show on Schedule A the sales price and the loan amount. So again, look at that. If something changes, there has to be a revision done to that title work to show there's a different lender, or there's a different purchaser, or there's a different amount. So there's a lot of information on Schedule A. Schedule B1, this is what shows the requirements of what has to happen for this transaction to take place. So it's going to show that we need to record a deed from Tom and Rosie Davis to Ed and Sally Jones, because Ed and Sally Jones are the purchaser. It's going to show to record the mortgage to be recorded, and it's going to show to, but say that there's something where the property you thought it was Tom and Sally Jones in title, but it's actually in their trust, is how it comes out in trust. And so there's going to be a requirement on that Schedule B1, asking for a copy of that trust or certificate to show who can still sign for that. So there's a lot of information that as soon as you get that commitment and you read through it, you're like, oh, I'm going to need to get this from them. I'm going to make sure they have that available so that we have that before we can close. Are there any questions on Schedule A or Schedule B1 yet? And then Schedule B2, this is another very important page because this shows all the exceptions to the property. And one of the things, it shows the restrictions, it shows the easements that are on the property, it shows open mortgages that are on the property, open liens that are on the property. Now there should be a requirement on Schedule B1 to say how to get rid of those. But they will be listed as an exception on Schedule B2, and if they're not taken care of, they're going to be shown on that policy that they get. One of the things, for some reason, we're seeing a lot of recently is that there could be a restriction on that property, and I had another agent tell me a story where they bought this property, it was on a lake, and what they wanted to do is put a dock in the back. They had a boat, and so as soon as they bought the property and settled in, they went out back and they started clearing out the cattails and everything that was along the shoreline so they could start putting up their deck or their dock. And the neighbor came over and told them that they couldn't do that, that was wetland protected areas, and nobody on that lake could put up a dock and they couldn't take that down. Well, the people would not have bought that property had they realized that. There was an exception right on their commitment, right on their title policy, which told them that they couldn't do that, but nobody read it. So that's where it's really important to make sure that if you see something as an exception on there, that you go back to your title company, go to Star Title and say, hey, can you tell me what that's for? What is that for? What's that wetland restriction? How is that going to affect my client? Because in this situation, the buyer got frustrated with the real estate agent and with the title company because they said, you should have told me that that was on my title work. Now, they should have read it too, but typically they don't understand. And so we need to help them from our industry and your industry. And anything that can be given to the title company in advance when you place your order with them is what makes it more helpful to them to help produce the right type of product right away for you and to help get things accomplished and the closing to go a lot more smoothly. Any questions about the commitment? Okay. One of the other things that we wanted to talk about is the difference between every underwriter in the state of Michigan has what's called an expanded policy. There's a basic title policy and there's an expanded. First American, because we have the eagle as the logo, we like to call it the eagle policy. And there's a flyer in here that talks about the difference between a basic owner's policy and an expanded eagle policy. I believe here in West Michigan, and you probably can help me with this, I think it's boilerplated right into your purchase agreement that if one can be issued, then that is what needs to be issued. There's a lot more coverages on the eagle policy, as you can see on the back side of this flyer. But for those extra coverages, because it takes more liability onto the title underwriter, it does cost more. So it has to be something that the client is aware of, because we're only required to issue the basic unless they're aware and agree that they would like the eagle policy. Now the eagle policy gives a lot more coverages for the underwriter. It gives a lot more coverages for that client, which is, it saved them in a lot of claims areas, and it gives some protection to you as well. It helps because if there's something that you might have been aware of but didn't know that was something you should tell the title company about or bring it to her, it could have already been covered in the eagle policy. Now, the eagle policy can only be issued, or any expanded policy can only be issued on a 1 to 4 family existing residential property. So that's why I believe that your purchase agreements will say if applicable. And so if there's any questions on that, or when it can be issued or not be issued, we highly recommend it. It's just not something we can automatically give unless the consumers are aware of it, because the Department of Insurance feels that we should not be giving something to the consumer and charging them a higher rate if they're not aware that they're receiving it. All right. So one of the other things that we want to talk about is when you are placing the order with your title company. We understand that you have so many days to produce the commitment to your clients once the purchase agreement has been signed. To do a title search, sometimes it's a lot quicker, sometimes it takes a long time. It depends on where the property is located. whether there's been title work on it before. So one of the things is if the sellers can produce a copy of their title policy, if you're representing them, that's going to make the transaction go a lot quicker, because then most title companies, title agencies, we rely on each other's title work, especially if it's written on the same underwriter. So if they just bought the property 10 years ago and they have a copy of their title policy, it's going to shorten that time it takes your title agency, Star Title Agency, to get that title work turned around. Especially if it's a meets and bounds property. Sometimes some of them take less time than others, but if there is a policy and you can turn it in with your purchase agreement, you're going to make a lot of happy campers on our side of the fence, and it's going to mean that we can turn around the title work to you a lot quicker. If you know that they've been divorced, again, let the title company know. If you know that somebody's passed away, or it's in a trust, or anything like that, that helps our research to go a lot quicker to be able to produce the title work. Again, you do have to allow time, if it's been a while from the time that commitment's been placed, that if it needs to be updated, like I said before, because we want to shorten the gap of liability, and we want to make sure that we get it updated. Sometimes, depending on where the property is and the time of year it is, it does take a while to get taxes. That's not anything that any of us can really do a lot about. There's some places that are outside of the hub that the tax people only work a couple days a week. So time is of the essence of getting the information to the title company. One of the other things is that making sure that the information on the purchase agreements is clear and legible so that it can be read. We don't have to make some phone calls and say, how do you spell this? What is this buyer's name? The title company wants to make sure that they get all the information on the commitment correctly, and that we're doing so that we can search the names correctly too. We've got to be able to read them so that we're searching the right parties. So the contact information, it definitely helps to have all the correct contact information for the parties involved, so that a title company is not going to necessarily reach out to your client. We're going to reach out to you. But it's always helpful to have the other contact information on there as well. Is there any questions about when you're placing an order with the title company? Is there anything that, Wes, is there anything that you could add on that? Calling you up back there. And then one of the last, there's a question.
I do have a quick question. On the Every Realtor Should Know About Owner's Title Insurance, it states how it protects. You refer to if you buy from like a builder, and they fail to pay, say, the roofer, that the title insurance will then protect the owner of the home from a lien being placed on the house against it. However, when I look at the two different types of policies that are out there, you're saying that the standard policy, unless you order the Eagle policy, is what you typically will get. But when I look at the list of descriptions, a situation like a lien against a home from a builder for a roofing incident that's not paid only is covered under an Eagle policy.
Well, it could be covered under a basic as well, as long as that we knew, the title company knew that it was new construction, and they collected the sworn statements and waivers and that type of thing from the different contractors. There are situations where it could also fall under the basic without it being the Eagle. The Eagle one does have more coverages on that, you are correct, but it could fall under the other one as well. And then one of the last things that I really wanted to touch on, because I'm pretty certain everybody in this room has probably been affected by it, and I've talked to some of you in some other meetings as well, but I can't, every single day I see something that has to do with wire fraud or fraud from, from the fraudsters out there, the hackers. And I just ask that everybody from the title side on through you guys as the real estate agents, and that you make sure that you talk to your clients about it. There is so much fraud out there right now, and wire fraud, and one of the things that they're doing the most is they're hacking in through real estate agents' emails and sending emails to the clients, to your customers that look like they're coming from you, and telling them that the closing instructions have been changed with their title company, and here's the new wire instructions. The wire instructions for, I can say, and I can speak for every title agency in the state, the wire instructions will never change from that. And so if you could please help your clients understand that, because what's happening is then they're being contacted, they believe it's from you, they believe that that's correct, and they have to wire those funds to this different lender, and those funds will be gone. And so the contact that is with that consumer is you. So you'll see on almost everybody's email addresses underneath, we do not send wire instructions twice. If something ever does change, they would have that person come in personally and give those wire instructions to them. But wire instructions do not change. So I'm sure that a few of you have probably seen an attempt like that or been touched on that. Definitely Star Title can help you with any additional information. I can certainly help you with any additional information, but that's the biggest thing that's haunting our industry right now, even more than claims. So, any questions on any of that? All right, I think, Jackie, my time's up.
Yeah. So let's give Debbie Wiley a round of applause.